Voiceover industry terminology that every voice actor should know. Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Mike Hathcote. I'm a full-time voice actor. Today we're going to talk about terminology. If you're brand new to voiceover, or even if you've been in a while, you've probably noticed that the voiceover industry kind of has its own language. And when you don't know a lot of these terms, it can feel like, people are speaking in code or using a different language. So by the end of today's video, you're going to know about some studio terms, some business terms, performance terms, audio technology, some of these terms that you're going to come across when you're either new to the voiceover industry or even have been in it a while. Okay, let's get right into it. The first topic we're going to talk about is studio and recording terms. And the first one of those is the word DAW, or actually the acronym DAW, and that's D-A-W. D-A-W, or DAW, stands for Digital Audio Workstation. And it is basically the recording software that you need to use to actually record and edit your voiceovers. Things like Adobe Audition, Audacity, Twisted Wave, Reaper. There's plenty of DAWs out there that you can either get for free or pay a subscription or even just download one time. That's going to be what you use to record and edit your voice. The next studio term we're going to talk about is noise floor. And noise floor is basically just kind of the baseline amount of noise that you have in your room. It's basically the sound of your space when nothing is happening. So you just basically, if you want to measure this in your DAW, you just basically hit record and let it record your space without you even breathing for about, 10, 20 seconds. And then you can actually see how the room that you're in sounds and what your noise floor is. Now, what you should be shooting for here is negative 60 decibels. That's kind of the bare minimum noise floor that you want to have in your recordings. Now, if you can't get there organically, there are ways that you can use plugins and built-in apps in your DAW to actually help reduce some of that. But negative 60 is what you're shooting for. The next term for studio terms is going to be normalize. And this is just a fancy word for your target volume. And this doesn't fix your sound quality. It just works in the loudness of your recording. Most of the time, you're going to be normalizing your audio. Once you've done doing your edits and all that, you're going to normalize your audio to, most of the time, minus 3 dB, maybe minus 1 dB, depending on, what you're working on. But that's going to be the standard normalization that you're going to be shooting for in your DAW, minus 3 dB. All right, the next term in studio and recording is plosives, P-L-O-S-I-V-E-S. And a plosive is basically just a burst of air that hits your microphone when you say your P's and your B's and your T sounds. That is going to cause the microphone to pick that up, and it's going to kind of give a little distortion when you play it back, which we do not want. Now, there's definitely things you can do here to minimize those. The first is taking your microphone and having it off axis so that you're speaking past it and not directly into it. And then, of course, there are pop filters, which are the round things that go in front of the microphone. There are other ones that are made of metal that kind of wrap around the edge of the microphone. Those are all things that you can do to cut down on your plosives. All right, now on to the kind of the flip side to plosives, and that is sibilance. Sibilance is basically harsh, kind of hissing S sounds in your microphone. Also can be controlled with your microphone angle. But there are also de-esser plugins that you can use in some of the DAWs that will actually cut down some of those hissing sounds if you happen to have those. Next up is room tone. Now, room tone is pretty much just what it sounds like. It's the sound of your room. So if you're needing to cut in room tone in between some of the recordings or some of the spaces in your recordings, you can actually cut in room tone by just copying and pasting it in if that's something you're wanting to do versus just making it silent. Most people, if you just make something silent, it actually draws attention to that space because it's a complete vacuum of any sound, whereas room tone is just the sound of your space as you're speaking. But if you're going to cut that in, you obviously want to cut a piece where you're not speaking and you just copy it and place it other places in your recording. Next up is compression. Now, compression is actually a way to smooth out recordings. So it takes the loudest sounds and brings them down, and maybe the softer sounds and brings them up. And it makes things appear in your DAW and even sound much more even. So this is really about dynamic range. It takes the peaks and the valleys and it brings them more in line and kind of smooths everything out. You're not going to need to use much compression, if any, in your voiceovers, but it is nice to kind of smooth out some of those rough edges and make things sound a little more polished. Okay, the last term for the studio/recording topic, and that's going to be gain. Now, your gain is basically just your input volume of your microphone. It is a way to adjust how sensitive your microphone is and how much it picks up. Now, there are usually two ways you can use gain. And the first is if you've got a USB microphone, there's usually a gain knob right on the microphone. If you have an XLR microphone with an interface, then the gain is usually right next to where you plug the cable into the interface. And when you're adjusting your gain, you kind of want to shoot for, at your normal speaking voice, you want to shoot for peaking in your DAW about -6 to -9 dB. There's a range there, but that's how you want to adjust the gain to make sure that you're picking up the proper amount of your vocals into the microphone. The next term is punch and roll, and this is basically a recording method where your mistakes are rolled back automatically and then you can re-record at that same time as opposed to going back after the fact. A lot of people who do audiobooks or really long-form work, they love punch and roll because it allows them to kind of edit as they go. Okay, moving right along to part number 2, and this is going to be for performance and script terms. The first one we're going to talk about is cold read. Now, when somebody talks about a cold read, that basically means they're picking up a script for the first time and reading it out loud without having done any practice or any previewing of the script. The next term is a pickup. And a pickup is basically a correction in the script or in the recording that is usually your fault. So let's say you mispronounced a word or you didn't inflect right on this certain word or phrase and the client wants you to redo it. That is called a pickup. And like I said, it's typically something that is correcting a mistake that you made. And then there's revision. So this is similar to a pickup, but a revision is more customer side, as if they changed the script and they wanted you to re-record, a line or two or a change a word or a phrase. Usually that is their fault, and most of the time you can actually charge extra for that because it's not your fault. You didn't make any mistakes. They're changing things. Now, these can sometimes be flip-flopped. A lot of people can call a pickup a revision and vice versa. And as far as charging for these, unless it's a major rewrite, I typically don't charge for revisions. And of course, you should never charge for pickups because those are your fault. But I usually just, in the name of good customer service, I'll just do it for them real quick, unless it is a major overhaul of the script. Then we can talk about charging. Next up is the term slate. Now, a slate is basically just saying your name and maybe sometimes your name and your agency that you're with on an audition. Sometimes this will happen before the read. Sometimes it'll happen after the read. Sometimes for certain auditions, they don't want you to do it at all. Sometimes if you are doing an audition and you want to let them know that you've maybe got a couple of takes on the audition, you can right up top tell them, 2 takes, so they know that they're listening for a second one after the first. So basically a slate is just giving your name and any other information required either before the recording or at the end of the recording. The next term we're going to talk about is a tag, and this is usually in commercial copy. And a tag is going to be just a very short either word or a few lines at the end of a commercial, something like, now available at Target, or, call now for a free quote. Those are kind of tags that just get kind of put on the end of some commercials. And a lot of times you need to record multiple versions of these because, maybe they have certain dates that you want to add to a different commercial or things like that. Okay, this next section is going to be for more genre and industry categories. And the first one of these is IVR. And IVR is an acronym for Interactive Voice Response. And that is basically just a fancy way of saying telephone systems. Things like, on-hold recording, phone tree stuff, press 1 for sales, press 2 for support, that kind of thing. Okay, next up is e-learning. And this is basically just learning content, things like educational modules, usually with some sort of a quiz or something at the end of it. Usually lots of different slides of this educational training videos and onboarding content and that kind of thing. The next one is explainer videos. And explainer videos are different from e-learning in that it's usually product-based. Think of, the Meta Quest. Maybe the Meta Quest wants to show you all the things that the Meta Quest can do. And that's what an explainer video is. It kind of takes you through some of the features of a product or a service. Think of maybe an app demo or corporate messages and things like that just kind of explain something in great detail. Now, this next one's kind of similar to an explainer, but it's a little different, and that is a whiteboard video. And a whiteboard video is just what it sounds like. White background, and usually there's a hand drawing as they're speaking, telling you a certain thing about a service or a product or something like that. This is Bob, and then it shows Bob being drawn and sketched out. And it's kind of a interesting, newer way to explain things. Okay, now we're going to talk about some business and more client-centric terms. And the first one here is an NDA, or non-disclosure agreement. You've probably heard of that before in other contexts, but when it comes to voiceover, this is a document that you have to sign, or a contract that stipulates that you're not allowed to actually share any information about the project or even the audition that you're working on, because it's usually very hush-hush proprietary information that you're just not allowed to share publicly. A good example of this is I did a job for the FBI. This has been several years ago, but I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement for them because I'm not allowed to disclose what I was teaching. I could, but I'd have to kill you. Okay, the next term is CRM, or Customer Relationship Manager. And I've mentioned this in several other videos, but it's a piece of software that allows you to keep track of your potential clients and existing clients, and even follow up with people on a specific basis. And these are very helpful, especially in your marketing. Next up is rate card. And when somebody asks for your rate card, they just are asking for your pricing. And this is usually just kind of a one-page document that kind of lays out some of the basic pricing that you are charging for different types of voiceover. Maybe you charge a certain price for e-learning. Maybe you charge a different price for commercial, depending on the usage. So these are sheets that you can send out to clients, and some do ask for these, where it's just kind of a menu or a price sheet. So the next term is buyout, or some people call it in perpetuity. And this is basically when someone pays you for a job that gives them unlimited usage forever. The word usage is our next term, and usage is just like it sounds. It's basically, what is the project you've recorded going to be used for? And the usage is really going to affect the pricing. For instance, if it's going to be used only on someone's website, you may charge a certain amount. But if it's going to be used publicly, or maybe in a broadcast situation, maybe a local or regional or even national spot, that's going to usually be able to be charged much more. So always make sure that you know what the project is going to be used for, because you can charge different amounts depending on the usage. Okay, next I want to talk about why knowing this stuff is really, really important. The old days are gone, where you can just walk into a studio, record, walk out and get paid. Nowadays, you wear all the hats in your business. You're the performer, you're the engineer, you're the business person, the bookkeeper. You got to know all this stuff now versus back in the day. So knowing this stuff is going to help you, understand client requests. It's going to help you look more professional. You're going to avoid a lot of rookie mistakes. And, you're going to be able to also produce cleaner audio. So the more fluent you are in all these terms, the more confident you're going to feel, and that confidence is going to show up in your reads. By the way, since we're talking about mistakes, a lot of these terms we talked about today really tie into some of the big mistakes that people make when they first start out in VO, which is why I've created this free resource called The 5 Biggest Mistakes That New Voice Actors Make and How to Avoid Them. It's a free video and a companion PDF that, if you want to grab it in the link in the description below, you can actually download that for free, watch the video, and then keep that PDF on your desk so you know not to make these mistakes. Learning voiceover terminology isn't just about looking smart. It's about actually becoming confident and competent in the work that you do. The more you know the language of this industry, the smoother your auditions and your communication and all of the things that go into, working with clients and editing, the smoother all that's going to be. Thanks again for being here. I hope this video on terminology helps you out. And leave a comment down below if there's anything I've missed. If there's a term out there that you're unclear about, drop that down below in the comments. Also, if you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's going to be the best way to get these videos as quickly as they drop, and it's also the best way to help our channel. And last but not least, if you want a step-by-step guide broken down to the most basic level on how to get started in voiceover, then you might want to check out this right here.